What is going on? We are back with episode number 11. This is another episode of Uncut, which is just basically...
Yeah, so Uncut is going to be... there'll be two different styles of Uncut. It'll either be three topics that we introduce ourselves that we think deserve to be talked about, that are going to be a little more controversial in the business or in the endurance space, or just something that we think would be valuable for the people listening. Or the other version of Uncut is just going to be Q&A style specifically, and that's what this one's going to be. So we just put up on our story any questions that people had for the podcast, and then obviously some of them are a little bit bullshit and funny and just our friends berating us. And then some of the other ones are really good questions. They're really insightful and I think would bring value to people listening. But,
yeah. And then we also have other episodes too that we'll be doing that is Eminem. So it's Miles and Memories, where we just go over storytelling, whether it's High Rocks, 100-mile races, storytelling type podcast that is not scripted, but it's just more go with the flow. And then we have Grounded, which is just lessons learned in the moment. So could be from that week where we go to the Sunday podcast and we just want to talk about the lessons we learned that week. Something like that. Something simple.
Yep, super simple.
Let's dive right in.
Do you want to rapid fire?
Yeah.
Questions that
Matt.
Yeah.
Matt forced me answering your questions. All right. You probably thought I wasn't going to answer your questions, but I'm going to.
Matt's first question was Drew's brain, and that was it. Just Drew's brain.
What's he want to know?
I think everything.
He's not going to get a good answer.
All right, keep going.
Go to the movie. Sure. Pancakes or waffles? I'm going to go with pancakes there. What about you?
Neither.
All right, whatever. Oh, yeah, that's kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie. Then he asked me what my investment strategy was. I think you just wanted me to slip up there. I'm not going to talk about it, all right? Because I don't know. I have no idea.
So you don't want to give people your secrets?
I don't know how to invest, brother.
We can work on it.
We can wait on that one. Yeah. Do you want to dive right into like the serious questions?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll throw out one of the funny ones that I had on here that I thought was good.
Okay.
They actually, Cole wanted to know from you how the big titties saying came about with the energy drinks because he's invested now. He wants to know why you said big titties when you opened up the Texas Lightning.
I was just listening to an Andy Frisella podcast one night. This was on like one of my runs late at night, 10 to 11 p.m. after I closed the store. And Andy Frisella opened a Tropic Lightning and just screamed big ass titties. And then he explained it. He was like, every time you open a Tropical Lightning, you yell big ass titties. Didn't really give a reason. So I don't know why, but apparently that's what they do at first for him. So
Cole, if you ever come across a Texas Lightning can,
yeah,
you know what to do when you open it.
Not Texas Lightning, Tropic Lightning. Texas Lightning is the same thing, but
I think that's what they call it.
Tropic Lightning. Texas Lightning is the limited edition can.
Yeah, I thought that's the one you're supposed to say it.
Oh no, you say it with the Tropic Lightning.
Oh, no matter what.
Yeah, the flavor.
Oh, okay, so you got to be careful there.
Yeah,
you got to be careful there. It could be Tropic or it could be the Texas Lightning can. I'll go ahead and rapid fire these three.
Okay.
What does Briley think of Brandon? I'm not going to go ahead and answer for Briley. I'm going to assume he wanted that answer from Briley specifically.
Okay.
I'm going to hope it's good things. You would assume.
You would think. I don't know.
Yeah, you would assume.
Never know.
Maybe we'll have to get Briley on here eventually to figure out what she thinks of me. Hopefully I didn't piss her off that day. She just comes on here ready to.
Yeah.
No, Briley's the sweetest person in the world. I don't think she'd do that. The next question was, what does Taylor think of Drew?
Okay.
I'd like to hear that one specifically.
I hope good things. She'd probably tell you that I'm not all there with it.
Yeah.
Not the smartest in the world, but yeah, I get things done.
Know what they say.
Yeah.
Favorite beer was the next question.
Favorite beer. Huh.
I know why he's asking. I'm never drinking again.
Okay.
And that's why he asked. I made that vow to myself, and it was actually the end of 2023, around like October-ish. Yeah, I don't know. I got to a point in my life when it, not to get more serious on this, but I felt like it was taking away more than it was adding to my life. And I feel like a lot of times I did it for it to be socially accepted or to fit in or to not feel out of place, but I hated it. Like I never once really had a good time. And if I did, I didn't remember it and I didn't like that side of myself. So yeah, almost, I mean, I'm coming up on like a year and a half of not, and I was never a big drinker in the first place. Like it was just always like weddings or like big occasions. I really don't like it at all. I don't feel like myself. So I choose not to.
I feel the same way about drinking. Never liked how I felt whenever I did it, and day afterwards was shitty.
It makes me feel like I'm behind.
Yeah, especially with how we train, and just doesn't make much sense. But actually, on that same topic, dude, like 2 days ago was a year since I had drank a sip of alcohol.
Really?
I'm not like an alcoholic by any means. It sounds like I stopped drinking alcohol because I was an alcoholic.
No, I know. That's why I wanted to preface that. Like I didn't have an issue with it. It was just more I felt like it was a subtractor from my life and it didn't really add to it. So I just deleted it altogether.
Yeah. Which has also been like a year now since I moved to Bowling Green. So that was like a year since I'd take a sip of alcohol. But
yep.
Yeah, we're there with it.
The next question that I had is significant aha or pivotal moments that have led you to where you're at now, like convos or moments with people, etc. I thought of a lot. I've had actually a lot of these up to this point in my life. I think just transition periods, and a lot of the transition periods in my life have been very distinct because it was a choice that I had to make. And the first one I'll just say the first one that popped to my mind. It doesn't take away from any of the other ones that I've had, but this was the first one. This was my first year of college baseball. So my first year I played at a smaller private school, and I've told this story on the podcast before, so if somebody's heard it, I'll kind of save all the smaller details. It was back in episode 1, but my first college I went to was a private school in Northern Illinois, and that was the first time I was away from my family, etc., all the above. And first time I also had played college ball, and you realize that you're not as good as you think you are in baseball, all the above. But I was super dialed in on the academic side of things. I took it very seriously. Looking back, it's funny. I don't know if I got much out of that. Obviously, we're more on the business side of things, and I think school more so just taught me how to learn or how I learned best, how I absorb information best. But anyway, I spent all year at that school traveling for ball, practice, school, all the above. And I learned a lot about myself, truthfully. I lived in college dorms. It was like jail cell style. And when the end of that year came up, I didn't start on the team that year. I played a little bit, but nothing crazy. And I was behind a senior center fielder. He was a beast, really good. Really good dude, too. Learned a lot from him the first year I played there. But I was never going to play because he had spent 4 years there and go along the line. But the next year, it was the plan for me to start center field like sophomore year and then throughout the rest of my time at that school. But I was paying a lot of money to go to that school because it was a private school. And it got to the point where I started thinking about professionally and financially, did I want to keep playing at this school just to say that I played college baseball and in result of that be in a ton of debt and get a degree where I could just get somewhere else at like a junior college that was a lot cheaper or maybe paid for when and these are just things I had to figure out on my own as I was going. I had no idea. Obviously, looking back, I think it was a really weird decision on my end to go to a private school my first year. But the people I met and the lessons I learned there were super important. So this brings me to my point. The conversation I had to have when I was leaving after my first year, I had to decide whether or not I wanted to stay And obviously I decided to leave. I went and played at a junior college the next year after that, and learned a lot from that too. But whenever I decided to leave, I remember that day I had to walk into the head coach's office with the other two assistant coaches, sit down, and I liked them a lot. They were great guys, great leaders. Looking back, like those were great men. I think I was a boy at that time in my life. I don't think I was a man yet. And I had to look them in the eyes after now looking back to and realizing like those were men that had poured into me as a boy and tried to teach me a lot of lessons. And then I had to look them in the eyes and tell them that I was leaving. And I don't know exactly how it felt for them as a coach. I know how it feels from the perspective of running an organization when someone decides to leave, kind of how you feel. You wish them the best, and if they ever wanted to come back, you'd always be there for them if they needed it. But it's this feeling of not that like you failed someone, but maybe you didn't provide them what they needed. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they felt that in the moment, but having to like look them in the eyes and them telling me like, hey, like, basically you weren't as good as like you thought you were off the rip, and we worked on a lot of things that we knew you needed working on, but we believe in you a ton. You're probably going to start center field for us next year if you want to stay. But then I'll never forget in that convo, he told me that he actually left his college after the first year and went to a different one as well. So while he was looking at me, like sitting down in front of him at that moment in time, realizing the decision I was making and knew that it was probably kind of the wrong one, he didn't hold it against me and just smiled. And he did tell me like if I ever wanted to like change my mind, that they were always there, and took the conversation very well. And I remember having to tell all my teammates and everyone that I was leaving, and people were confused, kind of like, why would you, like,
yeah, you're about to start.
You just spent a whole year not playing and being a part of the team, and now you're going to be like the guy and you just want to dip out. Reason I say that was probably one of the best turning moments for me was that convo made me realize, one, to not make decisions prematurely based on how you feel emotionally. And a lot of times if you just see it through, there's a lot of good shit on the other side of that. I'm sure had I stayed, we probably could have figured something out to get a lot more of my school paid for. Mm-hmm. I could have easily had that conversation too. I'm sure I would have learned a lot by actually playing and starting at a 4-year school versus starting at like a JUCO. Two, I learned kind of how, I don't want to say, I think for me, that was the first really, really grown man decision or convo that I had up to that point, just because it was a huge decision. You're leaving a 4-year program. So your life is going to look completely different, and you have to tell it to the person who's spent time growing that program and done a good job at doing so.
Yeah.
But that also taught me the value in hard conversations, because I also could have just left. You know what I mean? You could just unenroll and send a text, but obviously that's not in me.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Yeah.
But having conversations like that, you look back and you realize like, wow, those were real men. And if I ever saw them again, I would tell them thank you. And that affected how I talk to people whenever they come to me and have the same types of combos, because I know he could have easily sat there and been like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
but he didn't. He knew it was kind of a bad decision, but he didn't try to talk me out of it. He was just like, you're a man, like you're making that decision, but if you want to come back, we'll be here. And how he handled that, I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's cool. I've never heard that story.
Pivotal for me, bro. That was fucking terrifying too. I'll never forget walking into the office.
I guarantee,
shitting my fucking pants, dude. I was 19 years old, just sweating, scrawny, probably like 150 pounds soaking wet.
How am I going to tell them this?
Terrified. Yeah. Dang, dude. Baseball never saw me at 190, dude. I probably would have been a different breed, huh?
Yeah, bro.
But
you always tell them that, bro. If you went back right now, bro, you'd be cold.
Yeah, maybe I'll just
That's that dad talk.
Yeah, maybe I'll just dip out.
Back in my day, you know, I used to be real cold with it.
Back in my day, I'd had an extra 30 pounds. Them boys would have been.
Boy, if I was in your position.
Yeah. But no, that's a great moment right there. And now I think that's kind of how I look at the business that we're building. I don't look at it as one person as like the king dick. I just look at it as we're all the king dick. You know what I mean? Is that a term? I'm gonna let it slide. Why? You're actually crying.
King dick.
I don't even remember what I was. Have you never heard that? No. I don't even remember what I was saying, dude. It's on to the next topic. All right. You You had a question. Go ahead, bro. Dang.
My bad, bro.
All right. What was the question?
All right, bro. All right. It's what is the most challenging thing for you that you thought would be easy? The first thing that I thought whenever I read that question was like everything's a lot harder than you think initially, and that kind of goes with it goes hand in hand with like 100-mile races and ultra running. Like ideas sound good until you're actually there and you're in them. I think the idea of opening a business and moving to Bowling Green sounded like a great idea in the moment. And whenever you're actually in it and you're actually in the shit, it sucks a lot worse. And not saying that I would go through that again and again. You know what I mean? I'm thankful for those times. But I think everything is a little bit harder than you anticipated beforehand, because it kind of goes back to what David Goggins said too. I think on one of his podcasts with, I don't know who it was, but he mentioned like everything sounds better whenever you're on the couch and you're comfortable. Everything's going to sound better whenever you're comfortable in the moment, but whenever you're actually in the shit and like it sucks, like it sucks. So like, I think that's with everything. I think that was the same thing with the store, with opening it up. You knew it was going to be hard, but you didn't know what the hard was going to feel like until you're actually in it.
You also didn't really know what it was, because everyone always says it's going to be hard. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. Mm-hmm. If I had to argue for you, I would say that you've realized that businesses don't just succeed off solely being there, and a lot of it is a result of your skill set. I know that sounds very obvious and cliche to people listening, but until you do it, you don't really... You get exposed in every way possible.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Because the world is not kind, and it will expose what you're not good at. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what opening a business does, is it's going to expose what you're good at, what you're not good at. And until you learn those skills or grow in that way, you'll stay in the same spot. So that's honestly that's the cool part about it, though. I think whenever you choose this process, it's like one big ass self-development journey.
Yeah, it is.
Which is a blessing.
Yeah. Do you have any like specific things that was a lot harder than you first anticipated?
Yeah. Yeah. So much. Dude, I would give a specific example. When I first started, if you want to say running the company, this was after I had spent time bouncing around from store to store for probably a little over a year, and then made it clear that I was the one that was handling mostly everything. And whenever you do become the guy, I think that for me in the beginning, I knew it would be hard. The part that I didn't realize is, and I'm probably still in the very beginning of that journey, is what the journey of leadership looks like, or being someone that people rely on or depend on or answer to or look to. And I think I made a lot of mistakes in terms of how I dealt with or treated people in certain situations, or how I presented myself in certain situations. But it's a learning curve, and I think that is the coolest part about it for me. I know that's kind of a little bit vague, but
Yeah.
That in general, I think that it sounds really cool to be the person running whatever it may be, but there's a lot of things you don't realize that come with that, and you learn a lot about yourself and dealing with people and leading other people in the process.
Yeah. I mean, straight up, I thought before we went down to Bowling Green, I had numbers in my head that we were gonna hit at a certain month, and to be honest, I still haven't hit those numbers. Which is not saying the store's doing bad. The store's doing fine. The store's doing good, but you just have to realize that, like, actually going through it. Like,
I think it's a good thing.
How much it takes. Yeah.
Like if we went down there and you had no goal at all, I mean,
Yeah.
or your goal was super easy, it's probably not a good sign.
Yeah.
The next question that I have on here is, what are some things you tried to focus on after finishing 75 hard? And we've talked before on 75 hard and what I got from it, and kind of some things that I'd focus on going into it. And I know last time I talked to him, he was 36 days in, I want to say, and that was probably 3 to 4 days ago. So he's coming up on day 40, and he's doing 75 hard. Like, he is not skipping a step, whereas some people will just kind of half-ass their way through it and say they did it. He's doing everything. And number one, I got to give props to him here. He looks great and is doing a great job. He came into the store, had another great in-body scan. I remember the first in-body scan he sent me. He was like, is this good? I don't really know, because his weight didn't change a ton. Dude, he gained like 6 pounds of muscle over the course of a month. It was insane.
Lost percent body fat.
Yeah. But I like this question a lot. It's what things did you try to focus on after finishing 75 hard? And I actually think this is going to be different for every person, and I've only done it once, so I can assume that every time you do it, your answer would probably be different to this question.
Yeah.
For me, I would say it was the person that I was automatically on 75 hard. I tried to take that into everything else I did. I would have considered myself a disciplined person before I did 75 hard, but after doing it, it's not, I realized that I don't want to say that I wasn't as disciplined as I thought I was. I would say it's as unrelenting. And once you just do something every day over and over and it becomes habit, you kind of forget that you have to do it. You know what I mean? On 75 hard, like, you have to do it. So something I would focus on after is figuring out a way to still build that into your lifestyle. So if it's like the outside walk or the outside workout that you noticed really benefited you because it was a time that, and this was running for me because when we got into it, it's a time where you're able to focus without your phone and mentally you were dialed in, pay attention to that. So it's like, even if you don't get your walk outside after 75 hard, it's like, is there a way that you can create that time for yourself? And I guarantee you the nutrition side of it is benefiting you. So I would 100% stick to that. But even if it isn't an outside workout every day along with your other strength training workout, make sure that you're still creating the time for yourself to think if that does benefit you. And you're very aware of it. That's the biggest thing. I think that whenever you're on 75 hard, your self-awareness is at a level that you've never had it before.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. From the first thing that came to mind whenever I thought of that is not losing that self-awareness. Like, whenever you're on 75 hard, it's easier to be like, okay, like, I have to go do this because you're doing 75 hard and like those are the tasks every single day. But whenever you're out of 75 hard and say I have a run and I'm kind of like second guessing, like, man, like, I feel like crap. Like, I've done a lot today. Like, it's this late at night, it's this or that, it's this. Like, keeping that same mindset to like, no, I got to go do this workout. And like, not just because it's 75 hard, but because like, I got to keep that promise to myself.
Yeah, it's a lot easier too, I think, whenever you're out of 75 hard. It's like doing any event or like being on a high. You kind of come off of it and you realize you don't have to do it. And you start taking it a little bit easier on yourself, and then is like the vicious cycle of knowing what you are capable of and not living up to that. If you live in that space for a long time, I think it's super destructive. So coming out of it, I would say personally, I would try to not change anything. If you were able to do it for this long, I think you can I think you can keep it up. And now for you, that if let's say you like, we just talked about, I don't drink obviously, but if you like to have a drink on the weekend with your friends, and that's something that provides levity for you in your life, and maybe it benefits your job too socially, then maybe you start having a drink on the weekend sometimes, or you allow yourself every other weekend, or whatever that may be. But I think it just has to make sense for your life, and I think it'll be different from person to person. But to dumb it down simply, I would say try not to change really much. If you can keep doing that in your day-to-day life right now, I would just let it rock. Because if we're being honest, I don't want to sit here and say it's not hard, because I know it's a huge change for a lot of people. But we're talking reading 10 pages a day, an outside workout that can be a walk. And if you have a relationship, maybe your partner does the walk with you. Mm-hmm. And then it's just meal prepping ahead of time and drinking your water.
There's also phases too.
There are phases, yeah, if you wanted to keep it going.
Yeah, say if you don't want to stop 75 hard, you could start phase 1, 2, and 3, which basically is 75 hard. It just makes everything more intentional.
And like, you add a few tasks.
Yeah. Your workouts have to be more intentional. Like, you go in there, 75 hard can sometimes get, like, going through the motions. So the phases make it more intentional, where you're actually going out to do your workouts and you're actually getting after it. But
the next question I have is, what got me into fitness? Mm-hmm. I actually have never not been into it. I started lifting whenever I was 12 years old. And this is no bullshit. When I was 12, we had a middle school football coach, because our small town is very big on football. Damn. And the middle school program kind of feeds the high school program. And I had a middle school football coach when I was in 5th grade, where I started lifting with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And it would be a nighttime lifting class that he did on his own, by the way. Mm-hmm. Did not get paid to do so. He would do it twice a week at night, and he would take us through, it was honestly a great program. He would take us through agility drills downstairs in the hallway at one of the middle schools, and then we would go into this old dungy.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Old dungy style weight room. It didn't have much, but like rusty plates and some dumbbells, but it's awesome. Like my style of a gym, straight up my alley. But we would do that twice when we were 12 to 13, and then we did that all through middle school, and then it translated to high school. We had a lifting class, obviously, for football, and it just got built into that. I would say the transition, though, for me from sports out of college baseball into fitness was super seamless. I was really into it already. Like whenever we were traveling for college baseball, if we were in a hotel room and staying, and let's say I remember vividly going to Texas and finding the hotel gym right when we got there, where a lot of the guys maybe are going to get food and doing whatever. I'm going and finding a gym and stretching out, and I've always been that way. Yeah. So when I got out of baseball, fitness turned into, I can lift for myself now. It doesn't have to be for athletic development. So I wanted to get as big as possible. So I really got into bodybuilding style lifting and did that for 2 years. Then I got into powerlifting for 2 years. And now the past year and a half, I've been into more hybrid style, I guess you could say, training for high rocks and races and events and things like that.
Same way. Yeah.
I think your path is literally the exact same.
I started lifting because I wanted to get bigger for football. I wanted to have more size because football is my main sport. And I lifted to get big when I was in high school. When I got out of high school, I continued to lift just because I wanted to be big. I wanted to do the bodybuilding style. But
there was a time when Drew wanted to be big, and you were eating like how many calories a day?
Oh, 7,000 to 8,000.
It was disgusting.
It was all really bad calories too.
Yeah, so bad.
I did on my lunch break at school. I'd go get a 12-inch from Subway. It was bacon or chicken bacon ranch from Subway, 12-inch. It was like 1,200 calories, and then I'd have 3 cookies every day with it. Their cookies were like 200 calories each, so I ended up eating 1,800 calories for lunch. After school, I'd eat a pizza, and then it was food like that 24/7, and I'd eat like 6 times a day. But yeah, 8,000 calories a day. I got up to like 217. Dirty bulk. Wasn't fun. Didn't look great. Don't recommend. Yeah, that's how I got into it.
Yeah, that's that. I have the next question is, what is the biggest failure you've experienced and how did it shape you? Oh my God. I have fucked up a lot of different things. I'll go with the first one that comes to mind. I would say it kind of goes intertwined with what I just said earlier. And I don't even know if I would consider it a failure at this point, truthfully. I'm going to go whenever I decided to leave my first school for baseball. I think that probably was one of my biggest failures. But in terms of how it shaped me, I didn't lead into this, so I can speak on it. I mentioned that it taught me not to act or make decisions on emotion. That has played into business a ton. Because I know that at that point in my life, I made a decision because I was uncomfortable in the moment and it was an easy out. And I promised myself that I would never give myself another easy out, even when things sucked. So it's kind of played into business for me. And I don't quit things prematurely, even if it's feels really bad in the moment. I stick to it, and I would say there's been a lot of benefit to that. So that is kind of ties into what I said earlier, but that's how it shaped me in my professional life.
That's cool.
What about you?
My biggest failure is my B in second grade. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
There's no way.
No, I just want to bring that up because we talked about that in a podcast before. Biggest failure, I mean, it depends what you consider a failure. Like if we're going based off what the world would say is a failure, dropping out of college, but I don't think that's a failure at all. If we're going based off like feeling like a failure, probably in the moment with not being as good as I thought I was at sales, but I don't think that's an issue either. Like I'm gonna.
You have to give a little bit of background on that.
Yeah, we talked about it last podcast, but Matt Forrest, which is our, we say he just goes around to all the stores, helps with like customer experience, in the process. But Matt came down to Bowling Green.
He's built the customer experience process.
Yeah,
like it's his and he teaches it.
Yeah.
And Matt has helped and done. He's grown supplement stores on the East Coast, and now has come this way and is building these stores with us as well, and is one of the leaders in the company. So you're learning from him on the sales front. Go ahead.
He came down to Bowling Green and helped me realize that I wasn't as good at this process as I thought I was, and that's like the simple way around it. But now I'm watching videos, taking notes, reading books, and me and him are about to hang out in the store tomorrow and Tuesday. So,
yeah. The next thing I have is, what's a myth about health or fitness that you want to debunk?
A myth.
Holy shit, there is so many.
I mean, I hear it every day.
Go ahead.
That to lose weight, you don't need to eat. People think that like eating less is more.
Yeah.
Dude, I have so many people that come into the store that after they get on the InBody and I write their macros, they come back 2 weeks later, they see progress on the scale. They're like, dude, I'm eating way more now than I was, and I'm losing weight. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think we see that in the store a lot. I think also super triggery fad diets tend to be.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people talk about keto. A lot of people talk about intermittent fasting. And I think everything is a means to an end. I think you can achieve the same goal by taking 9 different paths. And if intermittent fasting makes sense for you, it makes sense for you. If keto does, it does. But if I had to say biggest myth to debunk, is that it's like there is one golden way toward getting a certain goal, because there's not. I think the biggest thing that people should focus on is habit and daily action that they can sustain over a long period of time, or let's just say for the rest of their life. Because let's be honest here, people are going to have families, people are going to have jobs, people are going to have other responsibilities outside of what they're currently doing. Like if you took me or you, for instance, right now, we don't have a family yet. We only have a job and we have relationships, but outside of that, we have a ton of time to train. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say a ton, but the only time outside of building the business that we have is training, essentially. And that is unrealistic for most of the population because most people have families and
Kids. Yeah.
have kids. So I think that it's obvious that yes, if you go on keto, you're going to consume less calories than you were before. So you're going to lose weight, and you think keto is the answer toward getting to the point where you want to be. But it's not that simple. It's just the habit of being in a calorie deficit and probably eating more protein that led to that goal for you. And you can get to that same goal weight or body or composition that you want to without having to do some crazy aggressive diet. And I think that that's just the issue with as much information that spreads and do this or you'll die type content. But I mean, I get it, dude. Like to get people's attention, you have to have crazy hooks. You have to have insane one-liners and verbal hooks and to get people to stop scrolling. So we've kind of done it to ourselves in that sense. But if that's the one myth, that's what I would say, that there's 90 different ways to get to the goal that you want to get to. Focus on the one that you can stick with for the rest of your life. That's going to make sense around your family.
Yeah.
The last question that I have is, what's a small habit that has unexpectedly improved your life?
Oh, that's a good question. That's gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard to think of. Do you have one?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead and I'll think.
This one's gonna be a little bit less, I would say, common. It's sharing. Seriously. Creating more.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Reason I say that is because I truly, and I mean this, it's put me in a spot where I share what I know to be true. I share things that I believe in terms of the content that I put out on my own page or doing the podcast or whatever it may be. Sharing has been such a cool journey for me because I think you have to dive into your own mind a lot more than you'd think, because whenever you do a podcast, whenever you finish the podcast, you have to sit down and, was I a little bit standoffish there? Like, did I not let enough out that what I was actually thinking about just to save a certain perception of myself? Or if you like post a certain piece of content or a video or a picture or something, and you're staying consistent with it, I think that you constantly have to evaluate how are you, what type of perception are you giving off to people? And in the process of creating and sharing, I think you find out a lot about yourself. And also there's I think that there's a positive and a negative side to it, but I'm going to stick on the positive side. The positive side, I think that you do start to accept yourself more for who you are. And I talked to you about this, but my content is a lot around just discipline, a lot of around like, I would say like emotional, inspiring. I do a lot of voiceovers. And for a long time, I thought that maybe I looked at my content like, oh man, maybe I'm posting too many motivational, whatever it may be. And then I had to zoom out and realize like, we're all going to die. What makes me me? And it is discipline, and it's doing the same things every day, and it's taking daily action towards something that I know and believe in. I wouldn't consider myself to be super like humorous or like the comedic relief guy. I've never been that way. I've always had more of like a stoic, just simple, I believe in the things I believe in, and I'm going to do those every single day type of guy. And that's exactly what my content is. And I don't have shame in that whatsoever. I just like, this is me. Brandon is very simple. He's going to do the same things all the time. And that's what I stand for and represent. So one habit for me is sharing and creating more.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, it is. You find out a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
What's yours?
The only reason I say this is because me and Lane talked about this last night. Said small habit, right? I try to remind myself, and this is like completely off of like what you just said. This is completely different. I try to remind myself whenever I'm talking to people, and this is like for in store too, or even outside of the store, not in the store as well. But whenever you're talking to somebody, like asking like about them, I think you shared that with me a while back. Was like, I feel like it's easy to be in a conversation and like dump what like you have to say like into the conversation, but sometimes just like asking questions like and getting what the other person has to say, or just letting them like get their ideas out makes them feel a lot better. So if you want more people to like you, ask about them, you know.
I love that. That's a great answer, truthfully.
I try to remind myself of that whenever I talk to people.
Damn,
Because
dude.
sometimes it's hard. It's like you get in a conversation and you want to give your input on everything, and you want to give like your ideas about everything because like your mind might be running. But whenever you sit down and just ask them about themselves or what they have,
I think humans are super interesting.
people can open up. Yeah.
More questions you can ask.
Ask questions.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all we got for the Q&A, guys.
That's pod number 11, ain't it?
That is pod number 11. We appreciate you guys swinging by. As always, if you have any questions, you can hit us up on Instagram, and we'll always respond to the DMs. But
Yeah.
it's a wrap.